All right, so Trump is taking over DC. Let's have a discussion. But before we have a discussion, let's watch this clip. Then I'll give you guys my thoughts and insight and honest perspective on it. And then I want to get you guys' thoughts down in the comments below. But no further ado, let's get into the clip.
This morning, there are new images of President Trump's police takeover rolling out in the nation's capital. FBI and DEA agents, some wearing masks, bulletproof vests, seen patrolling the streets of Washington, D.C.'s Georgetown neighborhood. And that Trump move is coming all really into clearer focus. Just as it is becoming into clearer focus, it's also raising new questions of which city is next. So first to D.C., the National Guard were seen at the Washington Monument. As well, we've also seen law enforcement personnel with the Department of Homeland Security and the U.S. Marshal Service taking part in traffic stops, and U.S. border agents on patrol at D.C.'s Union Station, the major hub for train travel there. All of this part of the president's crime crackdown, he says, in that city, a city he's tried to portray as being overrun by criminals, despite, again, the statistics and what the math and numbers say, which is the city has seen a 26% drop in violent crime from this time last year. With hundreds of federal law enforcement now on the streets of D.C., the FBI says 23 arrests were made overnight. And according to the FBI director, FBI agents were involved in nearly half of those arrests. CNN's Elena Treen is at the White House for us this morning, and a very different day it is this morning. What are you hearing today?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, Kate, we have now really seen this ramped up presence of federal law enforcement in the streets and really at these high trafficked tourist spots. That is what we're hearing from our conversations with people here at the White House, where they want these federal law enforcement agents to be focused. So you mentioned we saw the National Guard. We actually saw 5 armored personal carriers near the Washington Monument on Tuesday evening. This comes out to the National Guard had came in on Tuesday. But then, of course, we showed those images of people in the streets in Georgetown and all of these areas that we know where there's a lot of traffic, not necessarily, though, the areas we know where crime is the highest, places like Anacostia and others. And we've heard some criticism of that approach. So we're going to have to see really how this all continues over the next 30 days, because that is another key question, of course, is how long are we actually going to see this, and how effective is this going to be, this entire federal takeover? We know that the president has until mid-September. After that point, the White House has said that they are going to reevaluate what this process looks like. And of course, after that as well, he would need congressional approval to move forward. But a key thing that they're going to be analyzing as well throughout that time period, again, is how successful is this? Because the key question is whether or not this is actually going to end up being a model for some of these other cities we know that the president has mentioned, places like Baltimore, where we did hear the governor of Maryland say that he believes that this move is not necessarily, it's dangerous and it could lead to problems, but also cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, all of that's still unclear as we watch how this ends up playing out over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland, not mincing words on what he thinks about it, also having served himself. D.C.'s mayor, she has been watched very closely on how this is rolled out. She's in a different position than other mayors are, given D.C.'s status. A lot of talk about how diplomatic and careful she had been in talking about this move by the president and the administration. Seems to be shifting a bit, though.
I think that's exactly right. She's been treading very carefully. She's been very careful with her rhetoric. We've really seen that over the last week. I mean, when the president first announced that he had plans to do some of this, or even just wanting to bring in some federal law enforcement in the first place, it took her 5 days initially before she actually spoke out about it. And then even after he had made this announcement on Monday saying that he was going to be using the D.C. Home Rule Act to really have this takeover with federal agents, she still tried to argue that perhaps, it might be good to see people in the streets, while also noting that this move was unprecedented. But then yesterday, she did change her tone a bit. Listen to what she said.
We all need to do what we can in our space, in our lane, to protect our city and get to the other side of this guy and make sure we elect a Democratic House so that we have a backstop to this authoritarian push.
So you heard her saying have a backstop to this authoritarian push, which she's arguing that the president has been doing here, and also saying that they need to have a change in Congress to make sure that this could potentially be prevented in the future. All to say, very different language than we've heard in recent days, Kate.
A market shift.
All right, all right. So let me break it down to you in simple words because this is all juggernaut language that I know you guys may be like, okay, so what's the dealio? So when you look at Trump's move in DC, right? It's not just about cleaning up one city. It's a blueprint. Because remember, the president doesn't have unlimited power in most cities, but he does have two big levers: the spending power and federal authority in certain emergencies. So the beautiful bill he's talked about that passed, right? That added more federal funding to public safety standards. That means if a city wants federal dollars for housing, infrastructure, or law enforcement programs, they have to meet his benchmarks. And if they don't, the money can be withheld or conditions can be attached. So now look at liberal run cities like Los Angeles. They mentioned with Mayor Karen Bass in California, overall with Governor Gavin Newsom, because both have publicly fought Trump's agenda, especially on immigration and homelessness. But if federal funds are on the table and the strings say clean up crime and homelessness or else, Trump's got leverage, right? Because it's the same thing with Chicago with Mayor Brandon Johnson, who's backed by progressive groups. If those cities resist and things get bad enough, Trump can say, fine, if you won't handle it, I'll declare a public safety emergency and step in just like I did in DC, which he's doing right now. So my whole point I'm saying that is basically Trump already had tested out how effective things would be with when it comes to immigrants, right? When it came to the border patrol, when it came to ICE, they already have tested out the very things in which how they can be effective in stopping crime, let alone illegal aliens and crimes that are committed by immigrants. So what's the difference between American citizens, right? And here's the key. In DC, he doesn't need permission from local leaders because the law already gives him authority. In cities like LA or Chicago, he can't just walk in tomorrow. But if a crisis is declared, especially if federal assets, funding, or agencies are involved, he can use federal jurisdiction to justify sending in the National Guard or federal agents. And if those mayors publicly resist, it actually plays into Trump's hands because it becomes him versus failing liberal leadership, which is exactly the fight he wants for the cameras. You have to realize that Mayor Karen Bass in Los Angeles and Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson was fighting for illegal immigrants to have rights, and they need due process when they are illegal and they have disrespected the country coming into illegally. They weren't properly vetted out, and they have basically um, went across the border and got across the border skipping and basically being disrespectful to the country of America by coming into the country illegally and not doing things the right way, saying, you know what, forget your processes. I want to do what I want when I want to do it, which is disrespectful by basically jumping the fence, getting over the border, and coming in here and doing what you want to do. So if you have these liberal cities, such as these mayors from Chicago and LA that are supporting illegal individuals, and then Trump has to basically say, look, these individuals are fighting back. They tried to sue Trump in court. They lost. And now they lost trust within their own cities when it comes to the trust from the public and what's the cities from the people that voted them in the city in the first place. So, for example, Karen Bass is fighting against Trump to protect American citizens, basically prioritizing illegal immigrants who disrespected the country coming over illegally over American citizens' safety. Tells you right then and there that the American people will not trust to vote the mayor in, hopefully, Mayor Karen Bass again. And basically, they don't care about American citizens' safety who pay taxes to basically help them get paid, because we all know that they're a public servant, and they're a public official as a mayor, they get paid through tax dollars, and they're using your tax dollars carelessly and don't even care about your safety while prioritizing giving the money to illegal immigrants who didn't even come over here right and don't put nothing into the tax system, let alone don't have a social security. So right then and there, why would you trust somebody who doesn't prioritize you as a citizen when you are an American citizen, let alone that's disrespectful to your country because they didn't come in here legally? So what I'm saying is, the play for Trump is, okay, these individuals are protesting. They're standing up for illegal immigrants. They don't care about American citizens. They don't care about citizens in America's safety. They're tearing up their own cities. They're sitting here promoting homelessness. They're letting crime run rampant. That right there gives you the cause to say, you know what? I want to declare a federal I want to declare National Guard, right? I want to declare a federal emergency, in a way, a federal emergency, because now I have to step in as president because you don't want to do your job as a mayor. You don't care about the the citizens. You don't care about their safety. You protesting and you standing for illegal immigrants. You giving illegal immigrants things that they are not entitled to, let alone don't even care about the American people who are paying you to do your job, and you should be operating on the best interest on the behalf of. So now I have to step in, do the job for you, protecting your city and prioritizing American people as a citizen because you won't do it. And the simple fact is, now I'm going to declare a federal emergency with federal authority to bring in these federal agents and let them come and stop the crime and get your city in order because you don't know how to do it as a mayor, Karen Bass and Mayor Brandon Johnson. So now the National Guard comes in. So they fell right into Trump hands. The more you want to play dumb and play these games and play politics and sit there and not prioritize the American people, the more leverage you give Trump to do what he needs to do, because the simple fact is you operating out of ignorance and self-greed and playing with American taxpayer dollars. And the simple fact is Trump said, okay, fine, that's what you want to do. You gave me right what I want to do, right what I wanted, and then you showed your true colors. And now I'm gonna sit here and come in and save the day and get y'all act together and get y'all together and get things right so they can really see how things display. So now the American people can see your way and my way. And based off the information, the wisdom comes in, because now the right thing to do will show the right result, prioritizing the American people. So it becomes him versus failing leadership, liberal leadership, which is exactly the fight he wants for the cameras. And every time they push back, he gets to frame himself as the one willing to act while they do nothing. And that sets the stage for a political and policy win and creates precedent for expanding this kind of intervention beyond DC. So that's my breakdown of it. They can keep acting ignorant, and at the end of the day, Trump is winning. And I believe that Trump is doing the right thing by prioritizing the safety of the American people. And if you want me to take a step further, because they kept saying that crime was down, right? They're saying crime was down in DC. Well, if you really think about that, because people keep pointing out that to this 26% drop in violent crime. But if you compare that to COVID, right? They're trying to say in 2025, there's 26% drop in violent crime in DC. But that's compared to the COVID years, when the streets were empty, stores were closed, and naturally there was less crime. You can't run a city based on numbers that don't affect what's happening on the ground right now. So people judge safety by what they see and feel. And if they're seeing open drug use, aggressive panhandling, or hearing about assaults, let alone the person that was working for the Trump administration on the behalf of Doge, which is the Department of Efficiency, to basically lower the budget and cut the costs, so then we can lower the national debt of America and reallocate funds so it benefits Americans and bring more money back into America so we can be a booming country. The simple fact is, since the person that was working for Doge got assaulted and was exploring the city, why wouldn't the place, the capital, where the president lay his head at, not be the safest place in America? And why shouldn't it be? When outside of the fence of the White House, you see homelessness and things going rampant, besides you seeing a sniper on the roof protecting the president. That should be the safest place in the country for your president and for a leader that's leading the country. So look at it from a wisdom standpoint. I think it's common sense here. So people can say what they want, until they actually look at the simple fact that those numbers are misleading compared to COVID lockdown years, right? Residents, tourists, and businesses judge safety by what they see and experience. Open air drug markets, aggressive behavior, headline making assaults erode trust regardless of what the spreadsheet says. So, from a wisdom standpoint, this is like a ship captain seeing storm clouds ahead. Even if the weather report says low chance of rain, you prepare the ship because the cost of being wrong is far way greater than the cost of caution. By acting decisively now, Trump is using the tools of his presidency exactly as designed to protect the Capitol, reassure the public, and prevent a slow decline from becoming a crisis. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. On that note, family, I'm out. Peace.